Hello students. Today let's discuss on the topic economic laws and principles. One of the grounds on which economics is called a science is that, as in any other science, in economics also there are certain laws. A law is a statement of the relationship between cause and effect. The laws of economics govern and explain all economic activity. Let's look into some of the definitions of economic laws. One of the most convincing definitions given by Alfred Marshall in his book Principles of Economics. Economic laws or statements of economic tendencies are those social laws which relate to branches of conduct in which the strength of motives concerned can be measured by money, that is the price. In this definition, we see the motives. What are the motives? A consumer's aim is to maximize satisfaction. A producer's aim is to maximize profit. Now, these motives can be measured by a rod called as money. There is yet another definition given by Professor Lionel Robbins. Professor Lionel Robbins is of the opinion that economic laws are statements of uniformities which govern human behavior concerning the utilization of limited resources for the achievement of unlimited ends. Some of the important laws of economics are law of diminishing marginal utility, law of equimarginal utility, law of demand, law of supply, laws of returns, etc. You all must be quite familiar with these laws. Now let's look into the nature of economic laws. A close examination of the various laws of economics reveals that economic laws are quite different from the laws of other sciences. The nature of economic laws presents the following characteristics of economic laws. Lack of precision. Economic laws lack the precision and exactness associated with the laws of other sciences like physics and chemistry. The laws of natural and physical sciences have universal validity and application. They are true in all places and at all times. But the laws of economics are different in that they are not as precise and exact as, for example, the law of gravitation. This is so because the laws of economics are related to human nature and behavior which keep on changing. But it should be admitted that the laws of economics are more certain and exact than the laws of other social sciences like history, sociology, and political science. This is mainly because in economics we have the measuring rod of money, which can be measured in terms of price. And yet another feature of economic law is that economic laws are hypothetical. An important characteristic of the laws of economics is that they are hypothetical in nature. The laws of economics will hold good under certain conditions and assumptions. If these conditions are not found, economic laws will not operate at all. For example, The law of demand states that there is an inverse relationship between changes in price and demand. But this law holds good only when the assumptions upon which it is based are fulfilled. The laws of economics are based on the assumption other things remaining equal. So, in the case of economic laws, we see there are many ifs and buts, which means economic laws are purely conditional. And the next one is statement of tendencies. It should be noted that economic laws are just statements of tendencies. They are indispensable and unavoidable if some conditions exist. But the problem is that these conditions may not always exist. As a result, the laws of economics are not predictable. It would be difficult to know exactly what is going to happen. We can only predict what is likely to happen. For example, according to the law of supply, as the price rises, supply increases. But this may not be always true. It is on account of their uncertainty and unpredictability that Professor Alfred Marshall has compared the laws of economics to the laws of tides rather than to the simple and exact law of gravitation. So, there has been a controversy regarding the applicability of economic laws. There are two divergent views in this regard. In the view of the classical economists, the economic laws have universal applicability. The other view regarding the applicability of economic laws has been put forth by the historical school. According to this view, the laws of economics are relative in nature and as such have a limited application to a given environment. In the opinion of the modern economists, economic laws are based on essentials of human nature and hence hold good to almost all the communities. They serve as a useful guide to the economic events and for the formulation and evaluation of economic policies. So, next we will just look into the basic economic principles. Economic theories, concepts, and analytical tools are of great help to a businessman in arriving at various business decisions. There are various economic concepts which are fundamental to business analysis and decision making. Some of the important concepts are opportunity cost principle, equimarginal principle, incremental principle, the principle of time perspective, and the discounting principle. Now let's look into the opportunity cost principle. Decision making implies a choice from various alternatives, which is very important for a business unit. The opportunity cost of a decision is the sacrifice of the next best alternative course of action. Opportunity cost is the cost of displaced alternatives. Whenever you need to make a decision, a course of action is selected by sacrificing the other alternative courses. You can therefore evaluate the one that is chosen in terms of the other next best alternatives which is sacrificed. For example, a machine can produce either X or Y. The opportunity cost of producing a given quantity of X is the quantity of Y which is sacrificed. So it should be remembered that all decisions which involve choice must involve opportunity cost principle. The opportunity cost may be either real or monetary, implicit or explicit, measurable or non measurable. When a businessman invests his own capital in a business, its opportunity cost is measured in terms of the interest which he could have earned by lending that money to somebody. Similarly, when he devotes his time to organizing his business, the opportunity cost may be measured in terms of the salary he could have earned from some employment elsewhere. So, in simple, opportunity cost is the alternative foregone. The next principle is the equimarginal principle. Equimarginal principle states that resources should be allocated in such a way that the ratio of marginal returns and marginal costs of various uses of a given resource or of various resources in a given use is the same. This principle, namely the equimarginal principle, is also known as optimization technique. This principle is very important in determining optimal conditions in resource allocation. It is very useful in investment decisions and in the allocation of research expenditure. Application of equimarginal principle in business or in any kind of managerial activity can be in simple illustrated as follows. Just look into a multi-plant firm where it goes for cost minimization. We say MC1 is equal to MC2 is equal to MC3 and so on. Here, MC refers to the marginal cost in plants 1, 2, 3. So they tried to see that the costs are equal there. Similarly, if you look into any sales revenue maximization, MR1 is equal to MR2 is equal to MR3 and so on, where MR refers to the marginal revenue in market territories. So this is a simple illustration. Resources should be allocated in such a way that the ratio of marginal returns and marginal costs of various users of a given resource are same. The next important principle that is largely used in business economics is incremental principle. Incremental reasoning involves estimating the impact of decision alternatives. The two basic concepts in the incremental analysis are incremental cost and incremental revenue. Incremental cost is defined as the change in total cost as a result of change in the level of output, investment, etc. Incremental revenue refers to the change in total revenue resulting from a change in the level of output, prices, etc. A manager always determines the worth of a decision on the basis of the criterion that the incremental revenue is greater than the incremental cost. So it may be noted here that a decision is profitable if it increases revenue more than it increases cost. It reduces some cost more than it increases others. Or it increases some resources more than it decreases others. Or it decreases costs more than it decreases revenue. Thus, according to incremental concept, a decision is profitable only when it increases revenue more than it increases cost. I'll just give you a simple example. Suppose an automobile firm adopts a new factory plant to increase its output. This may lead to a rise in its total cost by 20% against increase in output by 10%. I'll repeat. An automobile firm adopts a new factory to increase its output, which may lead to a rise in its total cost by 20%, whereas the increase in output by 10%. Then incremental cost is 20% divided by 10%. That is, change in total cost is 20%, change in level of output is 10%. So the incremental cost will be 2%. On the other hand, the firm expects rise in total sales revenue by 30% against 10% increase in output. The incremental revenue is now 30% divided by 10%. So that will be 3%. So in the case of incremental cost, it is 2%. In the case of incremental revenue, it is 3%. So in this case, we see that incremental revenue is greater than incremental cost, and hence it will be a profitable decision to undertake new investment. I hope it is clear. The next principle is time perspective. Time is an important factor in decision making. A timely decision, if appropriate, is always rewarding and effective. In business decisions, in relation to time period, there are short-term and long-term perspectives. Short-term perspectives are based on the short-run analysis of the business data and performance. Usually, from the point of view of trade cycles, seasonal fluctuations in the business are observed and decisions are carried out to deal with the changing circumstances in the course of business within a short period. By and large, inventory management is based on short-term perspectives. It involves short-term business planning to maintain business routine with the given business size. In the long run, the perception is towards growth, development, and expansion. It is related to the long-run business planning for progress. In this regard, external influencing factors are also considered. For a successful business strategy, a manager has to decide the time perspective business options and actions. He should avoid unwise decisions on time perspectives. For example, a long run preparation of sweets by a sweet shop is not a wise decision. Similarly, the market demand for education, when projected on a short run basis by a university, is an unwise decision. It should go for a long term projection and long term growth planning. So, in economics, the importance of time element in the theory of value was recognized by Alfred Marshall. On the basis of time, Marshall classified the markets into four types, namely market period, short period, long period, secular period. So, thus, it becomes very important for a business manager to decide the time perspective of business options and actions. And another important principle used in business economics is the discounting principle. In the process of business decision making, the discounting principle may be stated as: if a decision affects costs and revenues at future dates, it is necessary to discount those costs and revenues to present values before a valid comparison of alternatives is possible. Which it simply means that a present gain is valued more than a future gain. In any investment decision making, discounting a future value with the present one becomes very essential. The following, the formula that is generally used in order to understand the discounting principle is V is equal to A plus 1 plus I. Here, V is the present value, that is the present value of the investment. A is the annual expected return, and I is the current rate of interest. As there is risk and uncertainty about the future, the return in future is less attractive than the same return today. Therefore, for the future, it's necessary that you need to discount for the risk and time. So, this discounting principle is generally used in capital budgeting. So, simply, if you, in a very simple language, discounting principle only tells us that a rupee today is not of the same value as of a rupee tomorrow. The present gain is always valued more than a future gain. So, it is very essential that you need to discount the future value with the present one. That is what we mean by the discounting principle. So, it's very necessary that we take into account all these 5 principles while studying business economics. So, these are the 5 economic principles. In the next class, let's discuss on another concept, namely business environment and the various factors that influence business environment, both economic factors as well as non-economic factors that influence the business environment. That's all for now. Thank you.